time for Halloween. Don't come to my house or else I'll suck your dick.
Hello, common people. This is a Common Guy Reviews, and I am your lovely host, Pepse. Happy Halloween again. Now it's time when you guys officially celebrate it, and so will I, with a nice food and a movie. I already had my Halloween in the weekend, my official party Halloween. We carved a pumpkin, we had a nice little these cupcakes I made. Look at those. Aren't they delicious? They are really delicious. Really delicious. And because the season isn't over yet, we are continuing this our little movie review campaign. It is time for a monster. So traditional, so bone-chilling, so nicely dressed and with a mannerism everyone knows. You have seen hundreds of versions of him, you have heard him in movies, in cartoons, in music, in magazines. The one and the only Dracula, vampire, Grand Count of the Transylvania, Nosferatu, Old Bloodsucker. Vampires have, throughout the centuries, been in our minds. First people feared the vampire bats, blood-sucking animals. Then Vlad the Impaler rose to the picture bearing the name Vlad Dracul, born in Transylvania, Romania. He ruled Wallachia off and on from 1456 to 1462. After centuries of different beliefs and mystery about vampires, Bram Stoker realized this monster in his iconic book Dracula. Before he could turn his masterpiece into a movie, a different guy took his book and made something that in 1922 became stable in the horror genre. Nosferatu, A Symphony of Horror is a 1922 silent horror film directed by F. W. Murnau, and it stars Max Schreck as Count Orlok. Film follows the events of the book. Everything from Count trying to buy a new house in a town where he could feed freely, crazed helper of him in a brink of madness, a real estate seller traveling to his castle in Transylvania, Count taking a liking to his wife. Ah yes, Dracula has always had some weird horseplay with people's wives, as he is unresistible hunk even in his bright age of centuries. In Nosferatu they had a fear of plague, a big one. Him arriving to the city he brought death with him, and people fearing it being a black death. They shut themselves in their houses like a meal in a fridge for the Count to feast. Music paved the way for the visuals of castles, cities, ships and the sea, and was just right and eerie for the right moments. The movie upheld its status as the legend. Amazing movie, and truly keeping their image of Dracula as horrifying bald man with the long sharp teeth and unnaturally long fingers. I have no doubt that this movie was caused so much fear and nightmares back in the days. But what is interesting about this movie? Well, as I said, F. W. Murnau never made the movie with permission. The movie was made without permission. Strauger family sued him out of his pantaloons, and the court ordered every copy of the movie destroyed. The only reason we can still enjoy this movie is because some copies were already shipped off seas, and so we have it today. Oh, and last year Count Orlok turned 100 years old, so people, for example, in Berlin celebrated it in exhibition Phantoms of the Night. And now, the one and only Dracula Bram Stoker was imagining. Got his movie in 1931. Pre-code supernatural horror film was directed and co-produced by Todd Browning from a screenplay written by Garrett Ford. Dracula was acted by Bela Lugosi, and no matter how horrifying Count Orlok was, Lugosi's take on Count Dracula influenced the whole character to this day, making a clear difference between the two. The plot was quite similar. Count Dracula lived in a castle in Transylvania, feeding on people who had grown very tired of his schemes. Now people knowing how to hide from him, he needs to move. Again, a real estate agent comes to his house or castle in order to seal the deal. He gets bitten by Dracula, turning him into his faithful, mad servant who shall lead him to his new feeding grounds. In there, Dracula finds himself in Carfax Abbey. His servant ends up in the mental asylum, where polymath Dr. Van Helsing analyzes his blood, discovering that he has an unnatural need to consume living things. Dracula makes an appearance, first killing a young woman named Lucy, and then coming on contact with the group, who had tried to find what is the cause of all this mayhem in their town. Seward, his daughter Mina and her fiancé John Harker, together with Van Helsing, discuss what is happening. Van Helsing notices that Count Dracula won't show up in a mirror. Revealing this to him, Dracula mashes the mirror and leaves the scene. They begin to hunt for Dracula, at the same time trying to keep Seward's daughter Mina saved, because she already had been charmed by this old hunk of a vampire. What is the difference between Nosferatu and Dracula? In this movie there is no plague or a fear of the plague. Also, this movie uses many concepts that later have become stable when dealing with vampires. Crucifix and wolfsbane being things that scares them. In both of the movies, same concept was present that Dracula must lay down in the soil it has been buried in during days, otherwise he would die, and in both movies Count brought soil from his land with him. But the way that they defeat the villain is or the monster is rather different. In the Nosferatu, the Count Orlok dies because he takes too much time and the day comes and kills him. In the Dracula, they actually hunt him and they go into his castle where he is right now living, and Van Helsing puts a stake through his heart so he dies. Such a classic, such a masterpiece, both of them. I get the illegal status they made Nosferatu with, but Stoker's story and character Dracula was so brilliant and different that they now are their own masterpieces in their own era, in their own movies. There are plethora of movies about vampires, about Dracula, and we had a blast watching the original ones. Halloween was a blast. I hope that you are going to have one too. Stay spooked, the season ain't over yet. We are now done and dusted with this year's Halloween reviews. We are going back to the not so hectic uploading schedule, so thank all of you for being part of this again. This was my review about the Nosferatu and Dracula, two of the most renowned monsters there is. This was Common Guy Reviews, and speaking now, your lovely host Pepse, and I'll see you all trick and treaters in the next review. Happy Halloween again, and goodbye!